This Yankees offense has never looked better, with Jazz Chisholm having the third highest OPS of anyone traded at the deadline. Judge going for 60 again. Juan Soto being Juan Soto. This offense has put together a streak of 15 straight games of 8 or more hits. Yet, this homestand we just came off of was only a measly 5-4 for the Yankees. How did that happen? What's going on, guys? The king of 161st Street. I'm back with another video, and the Yankees pitching staff is probably the most inconsistent pitching staff the Yankees have ever had for a contending team. One day they're hot, next day they're cold. One day the starters are great and the bullpen sucks. Next day the starters suck and the bullpen needs to bail them out. Nothing can be cohesive when it comes to this Yankees pitching staff. The real question is, can this pitching staff lead a team like the Yankees to a World Series victory? Now, let's break this down. We have one guy in the starting rotation that has had basically an entire year of consistency, and you would not guess it if it was the start of the year. It's Luis Gil, with a total of 3 bad starts on the year. Luis Gil, after his next game tonight, he will be eligible for his ERA, WHIP, batting average against, etc. to be in the rankings, and he will be top 10 in most of everything. He is our most consistent starter, should win Rookie of the Year over the average Colton Cowser, but he is the most consistent guy the Yankees have. Can you rely on him in the postseason? That's just a big question mark, because he is a rookie. He is a guy who is very volatile at times, has the most walks in Major League Baseball. It's a very interesting question. Next, you have the guys who have been consistent as of late. Those are guys like Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole. I believe Garrett Cole will be perfectly fine come postseason time. Garrett Cole has a track record that is unmatched in this rotation, just won the Cy Young last year. Right now, he is dealing with coming back from an injury where right now he's basically in May when the rest of the league is in August. By the time October comes around, Garrett Cole will be ready for the big lights. The question mark in this tier is Carlos Rodon. How the hell is he going to perform? Because at this point, it's been a tale of 2 halves of the season. He started off great. He looked like he was coming back real good from his bad season last year. Then he fell off a goddamn cliff. And now, his last 4 starts, he's been absolutely phenomenal. His success comes down to mixing his pitch mix. How much does he add his slider and his changeup to his repertoire during game? And does he say, I'm going to throw a fastball no matter what in this situation? If he says that in the postseason, I'm expecting 6 runs to be put up on him. If he relies on his secondary pitches to set up that fastball, he will have a lot of success. Because if you watch the games he's started, the last 4 starts, you see 1 or fewer home runs. That's a big plus, especially in the summer, because in the fall, the ball does not fly as much as it does here in the summer. So if he can play to softer contact like he has his last few starts, have more strikeouts in his repertoire, he will be a great pitcher come postseason time. But the consistency is a fear when it comes to Carlos Rodon. Then you got the lowest tier of the starters. Those are Marcus Stroman and Nestor Cortes. Marcus Stroman coming off of his best start in over a month against Texas. And this game, he finally went back to being Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is a guy who's never going to blow you away. At his prime, he was hitting around 93 with his fastball. Now he's maxing out at 91, usually around 90 to 89. He's a location guy. He will give you a sinker that you will hit soft contact with. And as a pitcher who plays to contact, location is key. Over the past 5-6 starts before this one for Stroman, his location has been awful, leaving sliders right over the middle, sliders going 30 feet out. His sinker wasn't sinking. He put a lot of pressure on his start against Texas yesterday because he took extra time to work on his stuff. The Yankees had to put in Will Warren to be in his spot during the Angels series. We lost that Angels series because of it. That put a ton of pressure on Marcus Stroman to shove in this game, especially because we lost the second leg of the doubleheader. And he did exactly that. If we see that Marcus Stroman, he can leap all the way up to tier 2. His style of play plays up in the postseason. Like I brought up with Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman plays to soft contact. The ball does not fly come October. So if he plays to soft contact, even if they hit it harder come October, most of these shots are not getting out. They have to get a really good shot that plays to Marcus Stroman's strengths when he's on. If he plays the way he's played the last 6 starts, he'll still get shelled because he does not have the velocity to get it past hitters. And even if you barrel it up in October, you can hit one out. It's not impossible. It's just harder. Marcus Stroman has to make life harder on hitters. Stop getting into deeper counts, play to contact, and be Marcus Stroman. That's exactly what he did in this game against Texas, and that is why he could be a weapon come postseason time. Now let's get to Nestor Cortes, because he, to me, is the biggest concern the Yankees have heading into this final stretch. I don't know what to do with Nestor. Usually when Nestor is on, he's similar to Marcus Stroman, but pitches in a very different way. His pitches play higher than they actually are. For Marcus, he doesn't have the stuff that has his pitches playing like they're faster than they actually are. With Nestor, when he's on, that cutter high is fooling hitters. You have them off balance going from 93 to 87. That's not the biggest window there, but it works for Nestor because that cutter looks like it's coming in at 95, 96. But when he's not on is when he's playing a game where his cutter is low. His cutter goes into the barrel, where his slider is not cutting in, but he's playing more to go back door. And then he leaves it down the middle. That's where he's come short. Nestor Cortes basically has to take a page out of what Marcus Stroman just did and be Nestor Cortes. I get it. He doesn't have the velocity to just blow it by you. No one's asking him to be Garrett Cole. The pitch selection has been awful, and that's something that is desperately needed in a system like Nestor Cortes has. And when he does get his pitch, he doesn't execute. A cutter high? No, that's a cutter that's about belt high. He wants a slider away? No, that's a slider that's going back door. He has to execute his pitches. It seems like on his slider, he's releasing it a little too early. He's got to hold on to that slider a little bit longer. And with his cutter, it seems like he's releasing it a bit too late. He's got to release that a little too early. And this is where the problem rises with Nestor Cortes, because with that cutter slider combo, that usually doesn't mesh well. Usually the cutter takes away from the slider and the slider takes away from the cutter. If Nestor Cortes wants to be successful at this level still, he has to lower the usage of one of those pitches. And I would hope that he would choose to lower the usage of his slider, because that cutter is his strikeout pitch. A cutter that goes in on the hands of a righty. If he gets it down below the knuckles and he's able to get them to swing over top, that's his strikeout pitch. And that's how he was successful in the first half. We need him to get back to that and stop trying to nibble. There are a ton of people in this Yankees fan base and people across Major League Baseball that believe Nestor Cortes is a one-hit wonder. He had a Linsanity run and now it's over. And he'll never go back to the pitcher he was back in 22. And I don't know. I'm very torn on this. The rest of the second half of this season and the postseason is going to prove a lot to me, because the problem with Nestor Cortes is you see glimpses of what he was. You see glimpses of how he's able to absolutely fool hitters. You saw it in the first half. When he puts it all together, he looks like the all-star he was in 2022. He just hasn't put it together consistently enough this season to prove to me he is officially that guy. It's going to be interesting to see how this Yankees rotation works. As I said in the intro, they're not the only problems when it comes to this pitching staff. The bullpen has been atrocious since June. Now, let me ask you a question. Who do you trust out of this bullpen to give you a lockdown inning? Anyone out of the bullpen. Give me one guy that you would say, situation, first and second, nobody out. I trust that guy will get out of it. For me, I have nobody. Maybe one name. Michael Tonkin. Not a name you would have thought earlier in the season, but a name that has stepped up time and time again since he's been on this team. A guy like Luke Weaver, I would have said that in the first half. He was electric in the first half. Ever since the second half has started, ever since the trade deadline, Luke Weaver has been a shell of his first half self. Same thing with Clay Holmes. Same thing with a lot of guys in that bullpen. I like the moves the Yankees made at the deadline. Mark Leiter got lit up in the game against Texas yesterday. I do appreciate what he brings overall, and I believe that was just a blip on the radar. He could have been helped by some defensive plays. Overall, this bullpen is weak, and until proven otherwise, this is going to be the main X factor come postseason time. Because if I can only name Michael Tonkin as a guy that I trust could get out of an inning like that is alarming, especially because a 2024 All-Star is in that bullpen. Clay Holmes has been cardiac Clay all second half. He has the tie for the most blown saves in Major League Baseball with 9. How do you blow 9 fucking saves? And I brought this up before. Clay Holmes as a closer is a problem because usually a closer either A, has something you fear, or B, has elite control. Clay Holmes has none of that. He has a 97 sinker that, yes, is effective, but no one fears it. And his control, well, you saw it in this Texas game. He gets 2 quick outs, then gives up 2 straight walks, a base hit, another walk, and then gets a ground ball. He gave up 3 walks and 3 outs in the same exact inning. That is not a closer. And I know a lot of people think Yankee fans are spoiled because we used to have Mariano Rivera. Mariano was so locked down that we'll never appreciate a closer again. Well, I was in the minority where a lot of the time he was here, I appreciated what Aroldis Chapman brought to this team. 8 times out of 10, he locked it down. Yes, did he get wild? Sure, but he had something hitters feared. That fastball, even to this day in Pittsburgh, is still running you 102 to 105. That's something even hitters nowadays fear. Maybe they don't fear it as much as they did back in 2015, but they still fear that pitch. If you look at a guy like Emmanuel Clase, he's got a power slider like nobody else, and he's got a sinker. He maintains control. He's the prototypical closer. And no, there's not going to be a ton of guys like Emmanuel Clase. Emmanuel Clase has both skills that you would want out of your bullpen arm. Clay Holmes has none of that. I believe someone else will be the closer come postseason time. If this continues, and anytime he's brought in a 2-run, 3-run situation, he threatens to tie the game because of how bad his control is, or the fact that he just has nothing a hitter fears, it's going to have to change. The real question is, who the fuck would you give it to? You thought it would be Luke Weaver, but Luke Weaver's fastball has had 0 life on it ever since the first half. Mark Leiter just got lit up, but I believe he's probably the best candidate at this point. I would like to keep a guy like Tonkin as a setup guy. Cousins has been good. He needs to stay as a setup guy. If Ron Marinaccio comes back up for the postseason, obviously he won't be the closer, but he would be another guy for like the 5th inning that comes in. If a guy like Stroman doesn't make it 5, there's 2 guys that have a shot to make it as the closer, and both are probably not options the Yankee fans really want to hear. Mark Leiter and Enyel De Los Santos. De Los Santos has a power fastball, and no, he doesn't have the big control, but he strikes hitters out at a high rate. That makes hitters fearful. My main choice would go to Mark Leiter because Mark Leiter knows how to spin that shit. We saw today, if that shit don't spin, it kind of just stays there. And you could give up a couple no-doubters if that's the case. But Mark Leiter, all season long, has shown a big potential to have a huge strikeout rate with a low amount of runs given up. Since he came back from the IL on July 9th, he's only given up about 5 runs, and 3 of them were in this past game. So if this was just an anomaly, he may be a great option for the 9th inning. Have Clay Holmes in a less pressurized inning, because back when he used to be in that less pressurized inning, he was electric. He was great because the pressure wasn't on to save the game. At that point, as long as you execute your pitches, you're fine. But once that clutch gene starts to kick in, and once the tying run is on base, and you have to have ice in those veins, Clay Holmes a lot of the times folds, and he almost did today. We cannot afford to have what happened today happen in October. But overall, I believe if we could get the best out of most of these pitchers, especially in the starting rotation, like I brought up with guys like Stroman and guys like Rodon, even Nestor, if you could get those guys to be even the slightest bit more consistent than they have been this year, this team can make a deep run. The real question mark comes is when it comes to the 6th inning through the 9th, do they have enough depth in that bullpen to keep these playoff teams from scoring runs? Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think the Yankees pitching staff has what it takes to take us to the promised land? Let me know down below. Like the video if you enjoyed. If you're new here, hit that sub button. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out of here. Take care and peace.